I'm making a video on the EcoDiesel engine, the 6-cylinder EcoDiesel engine using the Ram 1500. Anyway, my EcoDiesel blew up and I took it all apart, and now I'm putting it back together. And what happened is this sprocket came loose. This nut, when I pulled the motor apart, this nut was that loose. And what happens is you have rockers down in there. This is what a rocker looks like. And they fit down in there. And the cam rocks them. So that's what happened. So what I did is I ordered a long block, $3,200. I paid for it. A couple days later, Mopar says they no longer make the long block. And I said to them, well, how much is a new motor? And they go, like $7,500. Could take 2 years to get it. Oh, bummer. So then I go, well, the only thing I can do is I got to take this thing apart and fix what's wrong, which is mainly the rockers. The rockers, well, they all broke. That's all the broken pieces to the rockers. They just snapped. But on the bright side of things is I think they make those rockers really weak, so that when they do snap, the valves do hit the pistons, but because the valves are vertical in line with the pistons, they don't bend. So I still had to take the entire motor apart because all these little needle bearings, ended up down in the crankcase. So I had to pull it all apart, and I cleaned it out and got all the needle bearings out of there. You just got to take a magnifying glass, a magnet, and fish them all out. Then I put the oil pan together, and I'm using this stuff called where is it? Moly JV8. It's an aluminum silicone sealer, and that's what they say you got to use on the EcoDiesel. So I use that, put it together. So it is going back together. Now, the other bad thing about these motors is they have this thing called an EGR, and it takes and pumps exhaust gas back into your motor and makes your motor clog up terribly. This is one of the valves. That's an intake valve. And all that black stuff on there is about an 1/8 inch thick, and as the valve's going up and down, it's pumping that into your valve guide and wearing it out. And that's a problem, because these valves should look clean when you pull them apart. They shouldn't look like that. Also, all the intakes had about 100 thousandths or an 1/8 inch of soot, and I went and cleaned it. I pulled the valves out, and I cleaned out all the soot. And then the exhaust valves, I lapped all the exhaust valves in. I just pulled it apart, cleaned it up real good, and then lapped them in because they showed a little bit of pitting, but it wasn't bad. Everything looked good. The camshaft looks good. But on the bright note is, if this comes loose, it's not the end of the world for some people. You're just going to break all your rockers and you can put it back together. Next thing is, I even tried to buy these rockers from Mopar. No longer available. I'm going, wow. So I had to buy a head from eBay. I got a head from eBay, and the rockers all look good. Another reason I think this may have blown up is this is the fuel pump, and that gear drives on there, and my fuel pump, when I went to turn it, I put it in a vise, I put a wrench on here, it turns real hard. So it could be that my fuel pump locked up or started locking up, but as soon as that nut went and that spun, the motor just quit. So there's not a lot of parts available. You can get head gaskets. The head gaskets come with new bolts, because I guess you're going to stretch them when you tighten it back up. Another thing I want to mention is when you're pulling this thing apart, be careful. This is your reluctor sensor. And when you're pulling this oil pan off, you may miss this and try to pull it. You might break it. So that would be a real hassle. So just remember to disconnect that. Motor's real hard to pull out of the truck. However, once you get it out, it comes apart really easy, and just put all your parts in bags, mark everything. When you pull out valves, make sure you mark where the valve came out of and went back into. Make sure you put everything that you took out back in the same hole, slot, fitting, whatever. You want to mark everything. But I feel pretty good about this motor. I do want to do an EGR delete and get rid of this, because it's just going to soot up and slowly destroy the motor. And also the main bearings, which are down here, that soot can get in the main bearing and cause it to spin or dry out and go out. So you know, if you're changing your oil at 10,000 miles, pure black, that's nothing but soot getting in your motor. So I have another video when I get it done and in the truck. Thanks for watching.